Why did you change your mind?
Because I got to use it. And remember, TikTok is largely about kids, young kids. If China's going to get information about young kids, I don't know. I think, to be honest with you, I think we have bigger problems than that. But you know, when you take a look.
I used to cover this back in 2016 as well. Exclusive, Trump administration canceling flights for nearly 1,660 Afghan refugees, says U.S. official. 2016 is back, I suppose? No, it'll be worse than 2016. Make no mistake. There is no help coming from liberals. There is no Democratic Party. Even institutions like the ACLU have been gutted. So, like, any matter of different, like, legal counsel, legal support that would at least, like, try to hold this kind of process up in courts, in mountains of paperwork, are kind of gone away. They've kind of gone away as well. The courts are also slammed with pro-Trump judges that were appointed. And the Democratic Party itself, that at the very least was mounting an aesthetic defense on the basis of civility at times, was still creating a permission structure to say, no, this is unacceptable. And the media was also covering everything that the Trump administration was doing with negative terms for that reason. So both the media and the Democratic Party that are supposed to operate with like some semblance of critical analysis and countering what Trump is doing in Trump's agenda are no longer doing that, which means that large majorities of the public are not going to be aware of what Trump is doing or care about what Trump is doing, or worse, they will actually defend what Trump is doing. That's where we're at right now. Let's see what El Rivas has to say about Trump supporters at J6.
It was almost like some kind of holiday. One father, he's had kids who's been in this prison, in this jail for a year, and he spoke with a lot of emotion. Take a look. Your kids, are they charged with felonies?
Yeah, they're charged with everything in the book, sister. They wanted to destroy our family. They don't do bank robbers like they've done our family. They don't do rapists like they've done our family.
We personally would like a full pardon on everybody, and we believe the justification for that is this was a big entrapment operation. We're viewing this day as, in American history, equivalent as the release of the Iranian hostages. We believe it's that momentous for what is occurring today.
We're hopeful. We're happy. Today's our day.
So just a few minutes ago, I was on a bus that a group, the J6 Vets Association, chartered to bring Jan 6ers to a hotel, which they called an undisclosed location. Other Jan 6ers are going to a rented house they call the Eagle's Nest here on Capitol Hill. There's a lot of money available to the people. There's a lot of financing to help people get their feet back on the ground and get their lives back together.
All right, Ellie, thank you very much. Ellie's done such incredible reporting, and to be there, to actually watch those moments. I mean, it is pretty incredible the moment this country is in, watching this happen today, and it might happen tonight. Out front now is Jackson Reffitt. He turned his father, Guy Reffitt, into the FBI for participating in the insurrection.
That's the HasanAbi
Guy
head.
Reffitt is currently in prison, serving a 6.5-year sentence for rioting at the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. So obviously convicted and serving his sentence.
There's a HasanAbi head
Jackson,
in the news.
I appreciate your time. So here we are, and Trump is announcing pardons for January 6th defendants. That this could include your father, who's serving a 6-year sentence, a 6.5-year sentence as we speak. What's your reaction?
Well, I'm honestly flabbergasted that we've gotten to this point. I mean, I'm terrified. I've taken as many precautions as I could recently. I've picked up a gun, I've moved, and I've gotten myself away from what I thought would be a dangerous situation and staying where I thought my dad could find me. or other people, you know, people that are going to feel so validated by these actions, by this pardon, is I'm just so filled with paranoia about what could happen. I've been waiting all day from a call from the DOJ to just figure it out and know what to do next. Because right now I don't, other than just to, you know, sit around and, you know, talk about it.
I mean, you're scared. I mean, you're right. I mean, you're scared about what could happen from your father specifically, or someone else.
Yeah. I don't know what other people are thinking. I don't even know what my father's thinking. I mean, I've talked to my father before, but I had thought it gotten better, and it really hadn't. My dad is still involved with these militias. He still talks with, you know, a martyr status. He has no change. He's more galvanized than ever that I've seen. My mom too. My sisters are waiting outside the jail cell right now, and you know, I feel for them, and I know who they are, and I love them, but I can't feel safe. And I'm sure hundreds of other families, thousands of other people that have been affected by these people and their actions, and what could happen when they're released. I mean, who knows? I mean, you know, my dad once called me a traitor, and you know, he said traitors get shot. So that's, you know, all I can think about recently.
Throwing bagels at a wall. Thank you for the 20 committee to give the subs.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Jackson. You mentioned your sisters, and I know you're one of three, and your sisters are there, and you mentioned your mom too, and your mom and your sisters are fully on board with your father. And you talk about, it really sounds like January 6th broke your family apart. Is there any way that yeah, go ahead.
Destroy it. Like, seriously, I mean, my father's actions coming from the Trump presidency and what he thought what he was doing was right, just destroyed it. And I made a, you know, a very, very disgusting decision to inform authorities about what he was doing. And I still feel horrible about it every day. And, you know, my sisters are out there right now, and they're rooting for him. And, you know, I understand that. I come with a point of love towards that. Like, I want to be there for them, but I can't. It just isn't safe for people like me that you know, have done the same things I have done to do what I thought to do to protect my family. And, you know, it's hard.
But you still love your father.
Of course. I love him. I love him. I just cannot feel safe around him. Cannot feel safe around people he knows. I cannot feel safe around the people my mother knows. You know, my mom has, you know, used my name to sit in front of a crowded room of these far right Trump supporters. And whenever she brings up my name and what I've done, the crowd will just roar in just anger about, like, what the hell did that kid do? And I being away from all this and just spectating what they're doing is just terrifying. And I can't do anything but just spectate. And I don't know.
Well, Jackson, I appreciate your talking. It matters, as good people can hear it. And I know it comes not without risk, and it comes at cost for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck.
President Trump is about to enter the Oval Office to sign more executive orders and perhaps more information on those pardons. We're going to bring you that live, plus some of the wealthiest and biggest names in corporate America and technology specifically were there, front and center at Trump's inauguration, mixed in with his family members. So
it's so funny, the media trying to be like, wow, you know, corporate oligarchs. I can't believe it. Like, yeah, you guys love that, man. What are you talking about? Like, I don't know. It's just these criticisms do ring a little hollow, if I'm being honest, if I'm being real, coming from the likes of CNN. Oh, this is a monarchy, dude. Like, and those are God ordained lords defending the God ordained king.
We heard him talk about a national emergency on the
Let's look at
southern
his,
border. He's going to
immigration
declare
and
that
border
here on day
executive
one. I want to go to
actions.
Maria Villarreal. She's in Texas.
And then we'll talk
she
about some
covers
other
obviously
stuff.
the issue of immigration and the southern border for us. And Maria, they were expecting this. Authorities in the border states that Donald Trump would act and act quickly. And they've now heard it in the inaugural address. They now await the signing with the pen a little later this afternoon to put some of these words into action. Exactly what that action looks like remains to be seen. And as John Carl just pointed out, whether or not we'll see any sort of beginning to mass deportations still remains up in the air, though he's given every indication, President Trump, that he intends to act and quickly here.
You know, David, I think Mary Bruce probably put it best a little earlier, right? She said we heard the inaugural address and then we heard a second address. And I think that's when we really got a good sense of what Trump is really focused on, what's important to him, where he feels most comfortable. We've been talking about this all throughout the election, right? For me, though, this gave us a lot more perspective on what we can expect at the border. And I think that's what a lot of people, a lot of contacts and sources down here have been waiting for. There have been a lot of rumblings for weeks about what could potentially happen. I mean, obviously, he talked today about bringing back Remain in Mexico. We've also heard a lot of conversations around Title 42. And when you talk about...
Okay, that's kind of crazy. You got Kenneth Vogel, New York Times Kenneth Vogel, the ADL, which recently hired Ballard Firm, the lobbying shop headed by one of Trump's top fundraisers, Brian Ballard, to develop practices and policies to counter the rise of anti-Semitism in the U.S., appears to be willing to give Trump's team the benefit of the doubt. That's kind of cool that the New York Times is also doing this kind of reporting on the ADL. This is not the treatment that you give an institution that operates inside of American boundaries at the behest of the Israeli government. 100%, by the way. Often, I think the ADL also gets grants from the Knesset, if I'm not mistaken. The ADL might not, but it means that the new, like the way that, like they're willing to actually, in an effort to, I guess, maybe be anti-Trump, they're willing to attack an institution that normally works alongside the State Department. Interesting. Under normal circumstances, I can't see the New York Times actually being butting heads or even doing this kind of reporting against the ADL. Usually they're the ones who actually take ADL research, no matter how silly that research might look like, no matter how bad its methodology is, and use it as a factually accurate in their reporting to beef up the fact that anti-Semitism is on the rise. This does not, of course, mean that anti-Semitism isn't on the rise. It is, but the ADL's reporting on the matter conflates actual anti-Semitic hate crimes with anti-Israel sentiment being expressed. That is the reason why the ADL's reporting shows that there is like a 7,000% increase in anti-Semitic hate crimes in the United States of America, because they openly changed their methodology to add any kind of anti-Israel sentiment as an anti-Semitic hate crime onto their surveys. The previous president of ADL, Abraham Foxman, director emeritus of ADL, has, for the second time now, criticized the current leadership of the ADL. Breaking, Trump has revoked the Biden administration executive order, which imposed sanctions on persons undermining peace, security, and stability in the West Bank. The 5 settlers of the Biden administration offered a brief sanctions on that I'm pretty sure it took back on anyway. Like he actually went back on this. They weren't exactly pushing for this regardless. And I think that they just he automatically removed that with the removal of all executive orders in the previous administration, if you remember. Yeah. Abraham Foxman says Elon Musk may be the world's richest man, but that does not excuse his thanking the Trump supporters with a Heil Hitler Nazi salute. In addition to supporting Germany's neo-Nazi party in the next elections, it is a very disconcerting image. This is the second time Abraham Foxman has butt heads with the current leadership of the ADL, Jonathan Greenblatt. The last time was also over Elon Musk, as a matter of fact. Just, you know, pointing that out. He said this last time. Jonathan Greenblatt did PR for Elon Musk as well. He was like, what are you doing? What an insane thing to do from your position of authority as someone who's supposed to be the leading figure of combating anti-Semitism.
Before, if situations like Laken Riley's tragic death were taken differently by the Democratic Party, then maybe you wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation right now?
Yeah, well, the part messaging, but part, I don't think Democrats have ever said, no, let's not deport violent criminals. We've always been for that. But there's that element of the conversation. There's people coming to the United States seeking asylum. That needs to be addressed. But the people who have been here for years, if not decades, like dreamers, like farm workers, like other essential workers that make our country tick, that's a whole different population, and they deserve better than the chaos that is coming back to their families and to their communities under these threats by President Trump.
Well, Senator Padilla, I very much appreciate your time, and thoughts are with you with what you're going through in your state with those fires that are continuing to rage even as we speak.
Thank you very much. A lot of immigrants are going to help rebuild.
They are, right? And there's going to be a lot of need for FEMA, which I know is also part of this conversation. Thank you very much, Senator Padilla. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And President Trump earlier today did promise to usher in a, quote, golden age for America, quickly, though, portraying a declining country that's failing its citizens, a failure that Trump says he'll reverse.
Just got here. Did you talk about Elon doing the salute? Bro, I haven't stopped talking about it. Please stop asking me to talk about the Elon doing the salute. Yes, man, he did it. We're waiting for more. What? Content? What is this? Quit crying, mate. I've seen someone bitch about America as you do. Why aren't you moving to a different country then? But of course that won't happen. You won't have the same wealth elsewhere as you do in America. European countries like the UK are piss poor and broke. What? Why are you complaining about America, what an American is saying, exercising his God-given First Amendment, constitutionally protected First Amendment rights from a piss-poor country like the UK? Silence, Brit. Silence, Angloid. An American is talking, okay? Know your fucking place. Don't ever come at me like that. You have the Reform Party to deal with anyway. I'm sure you like that, though, because you're a dumbass, most likely EDL Trump's supporter.
Policy. And he's talked about a lot more drilling.
Drill, baby, drill is the way he put it today.
It's where he put it today, filling the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. But I know you've also said there were parts of his speech that you would have written.
We blow a 13 colony lead, love. I know a thing or two. Are you taking a piece, mate?
And about fulfilling the promises that he's been making on the campaign trail. And I agree with him in that respect. I wanted to see the same thing in terms of sending a message about a safe southern border. I wanted to see a message about the deportations that he said would happen, and he has to honor that.
Oh, thank God. Thank God. Anyway, he's signing new executive orders into action. Let's executive actions.
We have about 6 commutations in there where we're doing further research. Nice to see you again. So this is a big one. Anything you want to explain about this? We hope they get him. We hope they come out tonight, frankly.
He got Enrique Tarrio out of prison,
They're
too.
expecting it. Approximately 1,500 people.
He says, stand back, stand by.
Commutations.
Were there any cases you did not need or part of people?
We're looking at different things, but the commutations would be the ones that we'll take a look, and maybe it'll stay that way, or it'll go to full pardon.
And the order does require the Bureau of Prisons to act immediately on receipt of the pardons and commutation orders. Sir, this is an
Why don't we get that down so they can get them going right now?
Yes, sir.
Is that okay?
Yep, absolutely. Okay. This is a proclamation guaranteeing the state's protection against invasion based on the current crisis at the southern border. It invokes various executive powers relating to the ongoing invasion at the southern border.
Mr. President, what makes you confident that those are not going to be blocked by the courts?
I don't think they will. I don't think they can be. They're very straight up. Why don't you take that and go over here? Could you get him over here, not on the side angle? Do you mind? Just go right over here with your friends. Okay?
Sir, this is an executive order realigning the United States refugee admission program to better align with American principles and American interests.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. This next executive order is about protecting America from foreign terrorists and other national security and public safety threats. Again, crisis at the border, but it goes beyond that and it implicates other executive powers as well.
Okay.
President Trump, if cartels are now going to be seen as foreign terror organizations, would you think about ordering U.S. Special Forces into Mexico to take them out?
Could happen. Stranger things have happened.
That would be an act of war, by the way.
Would accept Venezuelans.
That would be military deployment on foreign soil.
Would accept Venezuelans.
Well, we're going to see on Venezuela. We're looking at Venezuela very strongly. It's a country I know very well.
He said he wants to do Syria to Venezuela.
Well, it was a great country 20 years ago, and now it's a mess, right?
Sir, can we expect ICE raids starting tomorrow in major cities?
What does that mean?
Can we expect ICE raids in major cities?
I don't want to say when, but it's going to happen. Has to happen, or we're not going to have a country left.
This is actually an executive order designating the cartels and other organizations to be foreign terrorist organizations.
That's a big one.
Yes, sir.
People have wanted to do this for years. So they are now designated as terrorist organizations, foreign. And Mexico probably doesn't want that. But we have to do what's right. They're killing our people. They're killing 250, 300,000 American people a year. Not 100, like has been reported for 15 years. It's probably 300,000.
Mexico doesn't want that. How are you going to deal with this?
I don't know. You'll have to ask them.
Sir, this is an executive order entitled Protecting the American People Against Invasion, which again deals with the southern border and the unprecedented admission of illegal aliens across the southern border.
What do you see the biggest national security threat to the U.S., Mr. President? What's going to be your priority on foreign policy?
Say?
What's going to be your priority on foreign policy? What do you see as the biggest national
foreign policy is a big statement. I mean, my priority on foreign policy is going to be to keep America safe. Very simple. It's a big question, though. That's a very big question.
Who is going to be the first foreign leader that you plan to meet, or who are you going to call tomorrow on your first day?
I've already been meeting people. I've been meeting them. I've been talking to them. I met with Prime Minister Trudeau, who I call Governor Trudeau. I met with numerous foreign leaders. Go ahead.
Sir, this next order relates to the definition of birthright citizenship under the 14th Amendment of the United States.
Yeah, that's a good one. Birthright. That's a big one.
What about that one in the course? That one is likely to be passed.
Could be. We think we have good grounds, but you could be right. I mean, you'll find out. It's ridiculous. We're the only country in the world that does this with birthright, as you know. And it's just absolutely ridiculous. But, you know, we'll see. We think we have very good grounds.
Sir,
people have wanted to do this for decades.
Sir, this is a proclamation declaring a national emergency at the southern border of the United States.
That's a big one. A lot of big ones, huh? You know what that means, right?
President Trump, did President Biden leave you a letter?
He may have. What? Don't they leave it on the desk? I don't know. Oh.
What's in there?
Thank you, Peter. It could have been years before we found it. Wow. Thank you.
Can you say on the outside?
Maybe we should all read it together.
Let's read it.
Well, maybe I'll read it first and then make that determination.
That sounds great.
Peter, thank you very much. I may not have seen this for months.
Happy to help with the passing of the torch.
I did. I left him one in the desk just like this.
What are you talking about with them?
Unification of our country. You know, I didn't know that he gave a pardon to his family because he did it during my speech.
He didn't tell you in the limo?
No, he didn't tell me. No. He did it. They released it during my speech. I mean, during my speech. So all I could do was say, excuse me, I'd like to come back and speak some more. So, no, we were surprised by that. It's bad precedent, obviously.
Where are you thinking on tariffs on Mexico, given these actions you're signing on the border?
Well, we're thinking in terms of 25% on Mexico and Canada because they're allowing vast numbers of people. Canada's a very bad abuser also. Vast numbers of people to come in and fentanyl to come in.
When do you think you would enact those?
I think February 1st.
Are you planning on giving notice of that?
I think we'll do it February 1st.
25% on both, sir?
Sir,
on each.
On each, yes.
This is an executive order taking a large number of executive actions to secure our southern border.
Okay. Sounds reasonable.
President Trump, we remember 4 years ago, Barack Obama had told you that the top threat to the country was going to be North Korea. Did Joe Biden tell you what he thinks the top threat to the country is right now?
No. I think we have a lot of them. Right now, I think we have a lot.
Obama said North Korea was a top threat.
I was very friendly with him. He liked me. I liked him. We got along very well. They thought that was a tremendous threat. Now, he is a nuclear power, but we got along. I think he'll be happy to see him coming back.
And
I think he has tremendous condo capability. He's got a lot of shoreline.
Thank you, sir.
Are you going to work with countries from South America to coordinate on immigration?
About who?
About immigration in general.
This is an executive order. Sorry, sir.
I'm fine with legal immigration. I like it. We need people, and I'm absolutely fine with it. We want to have it. We need it because we're going to have a lot of companies coming in to avoid tariffs. You know, if you don't want tariffs, all you have to do is build your plant in the U.S. So we're going to have a lot of workers coming in, but we have to have legal immigration.
Do you have a date in mind for when you want to put on the China tariffs that you talked about?
Which one?
60%?
No. You're talking about which? Say it again.
The China tariffs, the broad
China
tariffs.
Well, as you know, I put on large tariffs on China, and they've really been forced to leave them. And if we didn't leave them, you wouldn't have one steel mill that's open in this country because they were dumping massive amounts of steel. We've taken in hundreds of billions of dollars from China because they were unable to terminate the tariffs I put on China because it was too much money and the budgets didn't work and other reasons too. No, I mean, we're going to have meetings and calls with President Xi. I spoke to President Xi last week, as you know. Did you know that? I had a very good phone call.
Did you start with NATO at this moment? Are you planning to meet your NATO allies?
No, NATO has to pay more money. NATO has to pay 5%. We're in the Ukraine war by $200 billion more than NATO. It's ridiculous because it affects them a lot more. We have an ocean in between. And we've spent $200 billion more on Ukraine than NATO has spent. And they've got to equalize.
Did you talk to Xi about the Ukraine war?
Yeah.
Because China and Brazil together has a proposal to bring Russia and Ukraine to talk.
That's good. That's fine. I'm ready.
When are you going to talk with the Brazilian president?
How did Brazil get involved?
Brazil's involved.
This is a new one.
When are you going to talk to Lula?
Are you from Brazil?
I'm from Brazil.
That's why they're involved, I guess.
When are you going to talk with the Brazilian president? How do you see our relationship with Latin America and Brazil?
Great. Should be great. They need us much more than we need them. We don't need them. They need us. Everybody needs us.
This is
It sounds like you will not proceed with additional China tariffs necessarily, depending on how talks go with President Xi. Is that correct?
What does that define that?
Well, we were asking, you pledged in the campaign potentially a 10% tariff on China or as much as
Because of fentanyl.
Right. So I'm asking where you're...
That's only because of fentanyl. There are other things too.
Are additional...
And a very big thing is the Panama Canal. China controls the Panama Canal. What's that all about? They're not supposed to be good. When Jimmy Carter gave it, which was a terrible mistake, he didn't do it. He didn't give it to China. He gave it to Panama. And China controls the Panama Canal.
So are China tariffs...
And we're not going to allow that to happen.
Are they still on the table, or is that...
We're not going to allow that to happen.
Thank you, sir.
What can we expect of the countries in NATO that spend the least amount of money, like Spain, France, below the 5%?
Spain is very low. And yet, are they a BRICS nation?
What?
They're a BRICS nation, Spain. You know what a BRICS nation is? You'll figure it out. But and if the BRICS nations want to do that, that's okay.
Wait,
but
what?
we're going to put at least a 100% tariff on the business they do with the United States.
Does he think the S?
You guys know. You know what I'm saying, right?
Does he think the S is for Spain?
So it's not even a threat. In fact, since I made that statement, Biden said, well, they have us over a barrel. I said, no, we have them over a barrel. And there's no way they're going to be able to do that.
It's so funny that BRICS was an acronym created by Americans initially, and he still got it wrong.
They'll have a 100% tariff if they so much as even think about doing what they thought.
Can you explain how it's...
And therefore they'll give it up immediately. So will China give it up.
So this is about reforming the system of hiring in the federal government to ensure that merit is the lodestar of hiring decisions
as per the Supreme Court.
Other matters. Yes, sir.
This is a big deal. Merit. Our country is going to be based on merit again. Can you believe it?
Mr. President, you said you would end the Russia-Ukraine war on your first day in office. Where do things stand right now, and how do you intend?
Well, this is only half a day. I have another half a day left. We'll see. We want to get it done.
This is an order creating and implementing the Department of Governmental Efficiency, known as DOGE.
Okay, that's a big one.
Is Elon Musk going to get a West Wing office?
No, he's getting an office for about 20 people that we're hiring to make sure that these get implemented. We have a problem in this country. You sign an executive order, it doesn't get done for 6 months. As an example, when we allow the J6 hostages to go out, it might not be approved under the old days for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 6 months. You know, they had a good ruling from the Supreme Court, and it's like nothing happened. That ruling was 6 months ago, you know that. And it was like they didn't have a ruling. They've been treated very unfair. The judges have been absolutely brutal. The prosecutors have been brutal. Nobody's ever treated people in this country like that.
Mr. President, are you commuting the sentences of anyone who assaulted a police officer on January 6th?
Well, we're looking at 2 police officers, actually, that Washington police officers who went after an illegal, and things happened, and they ended up putting them in jail. They got 5-year jail sentences. You know the case. And we're looking at that in order to give them we got to give them a break.
But is there clemency in your actions today for anyone?
Well, it would be a pardon. That would be a pardon. The one I'm talking about would be a pardon.
Here you go, sir.
Should there be punishment for the people who assaulted law enforcement officers that day?
Well, I will say this. They've been in jail for a long time already. I see murderers in this country get 2 years, 1 year, and maybe no time. So they've already been in jail for a long time. These people have been destroyed. What they've done to these people is outrageous. There's rarely been anything like it in the history of our country. And even people that were aggressive, and in many cases, I believe they happen to be outside agitators, but, you know, what do I know, right? But I think they were outside agitators. There were outside agitators involved. And obviously the FBI was involved because Ray admitted the FBI was involved. Didn't he say 23 people, indirectly or directly, were involved? And it was then 26. That's a lot of people. Now, we have We got to take care of these people have been treated so badly. It's never happened before. What happened in Seattle where they took over a big portion of the city? What happened in Portland where they burn down the city every day and people die? Nothing happened to anybody. But they go after these people violently. I mean, they're still going after brand new people. They found somebody else with a picture. There's never been anything like this. And you know, it's almost 100%. Think of this, almost 100% of the people are convicted. 100%. It's Washington, D.C. People go into a trial and they say, oh, I have a wonderful lawyer and I didn't do anything wrong. And they end up in shackles almost immediately and jail. No, we're not going to let it happen.
About Greenland, we have some interest in buying it, but is there any other option that would satisfy you?
About what?
Greenland, instead of buying it.
Finland?
Greenland.
Oh, Greenland. Greenland is a wonderful place. We need it for international security. And I'm sure that Denmark will come along. I think it's costing them a lot of money to maintain it, to keep it. The people of Greenland are not happy with Denmark, as you know. I think they're happy with us. We had representatives, my son and representatives went up there 2 weeks ago, and they like us. So we'll see what happens. But Greenland is necessary, not for us, it's necessary for international security. You have Russian boats all over the place. You have China boats all over the place, warships. And they can't maintain it.
When are you going to be talking to Vladimir Putin?
Who?
Do you plan to meet President Putin, sir?
I'll be meeting with President Putin.
When do you plan?
I don't know. I can't. It's being set up.
Your first trip for the country, sir?
So first foreign trip typically has been with UK. But I did it with Saudi Arabia last time because they agreed to buy $450 billion worth of our product. I said, I'll do it, but you have to buy American product, and they agreed to do that. They bought $450 billion. It was the least reported story I've ever been involved in.
And now, where are you planning to go now?
Well, I don't know. If Saudi Arabia wanted to buy another 450 or 500, we'll up it for all the inflation.
Mr. President, you say you were going to end the
Oh my God.
first day. How do you plan to end
Bro,
Ukraine?
he's gonna give Saudi Arabia nukes. I'm telling you, he's just like, oh, nuclear arms. It's very expensive. Saudi Arabia needs it. Are you gonna give them the nukes? Do you have 500 billion? They'll get it from Russia.
Saudi Arabia to normalize relations.
I don't think I have to push them. I think it's going to happen, but maybe not quite yet. But they'll end up being in the Accords, the Abraham Accords.
President Trump,
I think Saudi Arabia will end up being in the Abraham Accords.
This year?
Could be, but soon. Not in a very long way. Oh, look at that. It says TikTok. My, what is that all about?
First, we have Alaska, sir. This is an executive order relating to unleashing Alaska's potential as an energy reservoir for the entire nation.
And what about ANWR?
I believe that would be included in aspects of the order.
So we're opening up ANWR.
On the TikTok piece, President Trump, you and your members of your team now used to warn about the dangers of TikTok spying on Americans. What changed that you're not worried about that anymore?
Well, it depends on the deal. I mean, I may not do the deal or I may do the deal. TikTok is worthless. Worthless if I don't approve it. It has to close. I learned that from the people that own it. If I don't do the deal, it's worthless. Worth nothing. If I do the deal, it's worth maybe $1 trillion. $1 trillion. So if I do the deal I'm talking about doing it for the United States. If I do the deal for the United States, then I think we should get half.
The TikTok.
In other words, I think the U.S. should be entitled to get half of TikTok. And congratulations, TikTok has a good partner. And that would be worth, could be $500 billion or something. It's crazy. The numbers are crazy. But it's worthless if the president doesn't sign, then it's worthless. If the president does sign, it's worth maybe $1 trillion. So I think, like a joint venture, I think we would have a joint venture with the people from TikTok. We'll see what happens. I mean, that's one of many ideas I've had.
The CEO is now. Did he say that he's open to that idea?
Who?
The CEO of TikTok is around.
Oh, I think he'd probably like it. Because he's got nothing. They really have nothing. It's passed in Congress. It gives the president a right to make a deal or to close it. And we have 90 days to make that decision. But I could see making a deal where the U.S. gets 50% of TikTok, polices it a little bit or a lot, depends on them. But remember, they make telephones in China. They make all sorts of things in China. Nobody ever complains about that. Here they're complaining about this. There's so many different products made in China, and nobody ever complained about it. The only one they complain about is TikTok. And TikTok is largely young people. I guess I have a warm spot for TikTok that I didn't have originally. But, you know, I went on TikTok, and I won young people up by 36%, Peter.
He loves that. That is the main.
Typically don't do too well.
I swear to God, that's the only reason why he wants to defend TikTok.
With the U.S. TikTok,
He's like, yeah, TikTok was great for me with the youth vote. I'm keeping it.
50% of TikTok for the approval that TikTok could continue in business.
If Huawei phones somehow were responsible for him winning the election, he would have saved that too.
Essentially would be paid for doing that half of the value of TikTok.
Would there be a private sector owner as well?
Could be, yeah, could be a lot. Tell you what, every rich person has called me about TikTok.
You wanted to block TikTok. Why did you change your mind?
Because I got to use it. And remember, TikTok is largely about kids, young kids. If China's going to get information about young kids, I don't know. To be honest with you, I think we have bigger problems than that. But you know, when you take a look at telephones that are made in China and all the other things that are made in China, military equipment made in China, TikTok, I think TikTok is not their biggest problem. But there's big value in TikTok if it gets approved. If it doesn't get approved, there's no value. So if we create that value, why aren't we entitled to like half?
Sir, if they don't have to go 90 days, will you shut them down?
Does Biden ever do news conferences like this? How many news conferences?
He's not president anymore. He's dead, bro. Who cares about Biden? He's still talking about Biden.
And it would be zero for the next infinity. For infinity, it would be zero.
Mr. President, you can't talk to President Musk going to help implement the executive orders? I think you mentioned implementation.
No.
Yes, it was technically his FBI that did January 6th.
He was very busy sending rocket ships up to various places.
But he always considers the FBI before January 6th and after January 6th, especially as a hostile entity. By the way, it was quote unquote his FBI that did January 6th with his head that he had appointed to the FBI after firing the previous one. So it's like it was fully his FBI.
I think he's going to get a lot of votes. I think he's going to be at 90% or something. I mean,
you said President Musk?
People know him. They know him in the Senate. They know he's good. He's doing a good job. I don't know. I can't tell you. I don't know what's going to happen with that. He's got some very strong ideas, though, Marco.
You signed the TikTok order, right? Did you sign the TikTok order?
Yeah.
Yes, that was just signed.
President Marco Rubio's ideas is
just signed it.
How many
still changing Venezuela, changing power. Are you still committed with Maduro leaving power in Venezuela?
Well, we're going to find out about that too, because we're going to probably stop buying oil from Venezuela. We don't need their oil.
Another.
Oh fuck.
Yeah.
Yes, that was just signed.
President Marco Rubio's ideas is
just signed it.
How many
still changing Venezuela, changing power. Are you still committed with Maduro leaving power in Venezuela?
Well, we're going to find out about that too, because we're going to probably stop buying oil from Venezuela. We don't need their oil.
Another embargo like the first term?
Well, it could be, but we don't want to buy. We don't have to buy their oil. We have plenty of oil for ourselves. So
President Trump.
That'll change Venezuela quite a bit.
There was a lot of concern about this during the campaign. A question that only works today. Are you a dictator on day one?
No. I can't imagine even being called that. No, I believe in the sanctity of the vote. The Democrats didn't because they cheated like dogs, but I believe in the sanctity, and this was too big to rig. This last election was just too big the opposite.
An election that he won, so it wasn't. There was no cheating.
Very soon.
And talked a bit about Ukraine and Russia, but how long do you think it would take to end that conflict? And
I have to speak to President Putin. We're going to have to find out. He can't be thrilled. He's not doing so well. I mean, he's grinding it out, but most people thought that war would have been over in about 1 week.
I told you he was going to do that.
Years, right? So he can't be thrilled. It's not making him look very good. Now, eventually, I mean, it's a big machine, so things will happen, but I think it'd be very well off to
Oh
end
my
that
God.
war.
Tariffs are
We
coming
have
in on them.
Numbers of almost
February
1 million Russian
1st.
soldiers have been killed. About 700,000 Ukrainian soldiers are killed. Russia's bigger, they have more soldiers to lose. But that's no way to run a country.
What did your TikTok order do, Mr. President?
It just gave me the right to sell it or close it. Essentially with TikTok, I have the right to either sell it or close it. And we'll make that determination. And we may have to get an approval from China too, I'm not sure. But I'm sure they'll approve it. And if they don't approve it, it would be somewhat of a hostile act, I think. But it's good for China if it gets approved.
Mr. President, so you're not guaranteeing that TikTok will be around after 90 days from today?
No, but it could very well be. It makes sense for it to be, because it's got tremendous value. But if we create the value by approving, in other words, that approval gives it tremendous value. If that's the case, then we should be entitled to 50% as a country. You understand? You haven't heard that one before, right? That's called a joint venture. And nobody ever thought that way before. Well, I don't know. I think you have a lot of people that would be interested in TikTok with the United States as a partner.
Mr. President, what was it like walking into the Oval Office this evening?
Oh, what a great feeling. One of the better feelings I've ever had.
Do you like this town better now than in 2017?
Well, we're very experienced now. You would say nobody's ever had experience like I have. I've dealt with some very good people. I've dealt with some very bad people, and I know who the bad ones are and the good ones are. Don't forget, I was very successful in primarily the real estate business. And people used to say, who's worse, a politician or a vicious real estate developer? And I'd always say, the real estate developer is far worse. But after about 3 months and getting to know scum like Adam Schiff and other people like that, I said, no, actually, real estate people are quite nice by comparison.
You said you plan to speak with President Putin soon. What about President Zelensky, and what's your message?
Yeah, I would, but he's told me he wants to make a deal. Zelensky wants to make a deal. I don't know if Putin does. He might not. I don't know. He should make a deal. I think he's destroying Russia by not making a deal. I think Russia's going to be in big trouble. You take a look at their economy. You take a look at the inflation in Russia. So I would hope. I got along with him great, and I would hope he wants to make a deal.
Mr. President, are you keeping U.S. sanctions on Russia until he makes a deal?
Well, sanctions or tariffs. I think the word tariff is much better because it keeps your dollar stronger. I think tariffs are more effective. I mean, I used sanctions on Iran. Iran was broke. When I left office, Iran was broke. They had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah, none. They were flat broke. And October 7th would have never happened. And I think you all know that. It would have never happened. They had no money. Now they're rich, but they're weakened in a different way. I would say that the one attack by Israel really set them back. It really set them back. The Pagers and others. The attack on air defense was a bad attack for Iran.
What are you signing now, sir?
It's an executive order relating to reforms to the federal workforce, including to the senior executive service.
We're getting rid of all of the cancer. I call it cancer. The cancer caused by the Biden administration.
How confident are you, Mr. President, that you can keep the ceasefire in Gaza and conclude the 3 phases of this deal?
I'm not confident. That's not our war, it's their war, but I'm not confident. But I think they're very weakened on the other side.
Do you support the 2-state solution?
Gaza, boy, I looked at a picture of Gaza. Gaza is like a massive demolition site. That place it's really got to be rebuilt in a different way.
Do you plan to help rebuilding Gaza?
I might. Gaza is interesting. It's a phenomenal location. On the sea, best weather. Everything's good. It's like some beautiful things could be done with it, but it's very interesting.
I'm sorry, what?
Some fantastic things could be done with Gaza.
future in governance for Gaza?
Well, it depends. I can't imagine you could have, well, you certainly can't have the people that were there. Most of them are dead, by the way, right? Most of them are dead. But they didn't exactly run it well. Run viciously and badly. So you can't have that.
Mr. President, on TikTok, sir, do you pause any decision on Chinese tariffs until you know what the resolution on TikTok will be?
No, if China didn't approve it, we could put tariffs on China. Don't forget, China charges us tariffs, and we charge them very little, except for what I did. I put a lot of, we took in hundreds of billions of dollars. But until I came along, China never paid 10 cents to this country. They ripped us off, and they never paid anything. But like, if we wanted to make a deal with TikTok, and it was a good deal, and China wouldn't approve it, then I think ultimately they'd approve it, because we'd put tariffs on China. Maybe. I'm not saying I would, but you certainly could do that. And if we said, well, if you're not going to approve it, then that's a certain hostility, and we'll put tariffs of 25, 30, 40, 50%, even 100%. And if we did that, I think they'd approve it.
President Trump, you've seen the other living presidents a couple times in the last few months. If you ever had to call on one of them for advice about anything that's going on here, which one would you call?
It's an interesting. Well, I thought Bill Clinton was a very good politician.
Truly heinous
I don't think he
stuff.
was used properly. I think they
We are
disrespected
so
him.
America's so
When
fucked.
Hillary
The
was
rest of the
running,
planet is fucked.
He came back
The
and
entire
he said,
globe is
you
fucked.
better get up to
It hasn't even been
Michigan
12
and
hours yet. It's barely been 12 hours in the office, and he's already said mass immigration raids,
They all left at him
Gaza
because the
beachfront
Republicans
property,
had won Michigan and Wisconsin,
tariffs to Mexico and Canada instantly February 1st.
and they all laughed at Bill
Like,
Clinton.
how is the stock market not reacting to this in the normal ways that you would?
And he turned out to be right, because I won both of them. And then we just won both in this election, too. We won Wisconsin and Michigan and every other swing state. We won all the swing states, all 7. They talked about 7 swing states. We won them all.
Oh, it's because MLK Day,
Bill
stock
Clinton
market's closed
he had a
today.
great
I forgot. I forgot that it's
political sense, I think.
I forgot.
You were having a good conversation with President Obama at President
I
Carter's
was.
funeral.
And you'd like to know what it was? Oh. Everybody wants to know. I know, I wouldn't want to, but we were having some crazy conversations. Why do you asking a question like that? You don't. I don't think you want to know. You might not.
Tell us what you just signed.
You might be insulted.
It's an executive order relating to holding former government,
It's also like 8 p.m.,
government
bro.
officials accountable for unlawful disclosure of sensitive information. This next one, sir, is a declaration of a national energy emergency.
So you also
That's a big one. You know what that allows you to do? That means
I think
you can do whatever.
I
you
think
have
we're
to do to
entering
get
very weird territory. In the absence of organized resistance against this sort of action from the obviously reactionary government, I feel like the resistance to this sort of
But why would Biden do that? He pardoned her and pardoned everybody. The reason is that they destroyed documents. And if you're even in a civil case, which this wouldn't be, I mean, people go to jail for a long time for doing that. What's this one?
That's unleashing American energy, sir. It relates to easing permitting processes and other regulatory systems to ensure that we can produce energy efficiently to drive the American economy forward.
President Trump, looking around the office, we noticed some changes from the way that Biden had it set up. Can you confirm that you have added back the Diet Coke blood?
I think this, first of all, I just got here. So my people came in. They have extraordinary decorator sense, right? Let me just see some of the pictures. That's a good one. I could live with him. I could live with George Washington, I can tell you. I could live with Thomas Jefferson. I could live with most of them. They took a very safe route. They don't have any bad ones up there.
Withdrawing from
What is this one?
Withdrawing from the World Health Organization, sir.
Ooh, that's a big one. So we paid $500 million to World Health when I was here, and I terminated it. China, with 1.4 billion people, we have 350 to pay. We have, nobody knows what we have because so many people came in illegally, but let's say we have 325. They had 1.4 billion. They were paying 39 million. We were paying 500 million. It seemed a little unfair to me. So that wasn't the reason, but I dropped out. They offered me to come back for 39 million. In theory, it should be less than that, but you know. And when Biden came back, they came back for 500 million. He knew that you could have come back for 39 million.
Bro, you're talking about, you're acting like this is cutting a deal. Like this is global health, dude. What the hell?
China pays 39 million and we pay 500 million. And China's a bigger country.
Mr. President, you spoke about inflation today in your remarks. What actions are you taking today that will have a
Already the deal, baby.
Americans on their everyday
Billions must die.
The biggest thing and factor for inflation is energy. They screwed up my energy policy, and then they went back to it. You know, they heard it really badly, and then they went back to it, and they started drilling more, but by that time it was too late. Many of these things that we're signing and that Doug Burgum is going to be signing, and Chris Wright, who's phenomenal at, you know, Energy Department
Alex
of Energy.
leaked your
We're going
tags.
to be taking a lot. We're going to make a lot of money from energy. We have more than anybody else. We're going to make a lot of money from energy. We're going to make a lot
What?
of
No,
money
this
from
is not
tariffs.
for me. What
You know,
are you talking
European
about?
Union charges us. They have a VAT tax of 20%, but it's really much higher than that. And that's the equivalent, almost the equivalent of a tariff. And they're tough. They're very tough. They don't take our cars. They don't take our farm product. They don't take almost anything. And yet we take their cars and we take their farm product. We take a lot from them. So, you know, we have like a $300 billion deficit with the European Union. So we'll straighten that out with either tariffs or they have to buy our oil. The one thing they can do, our oil and gas, the one thing they can do to catch up quickly, buy our oil and gas.
Will you travel,
And they should do that.
Will you travel to China this year?
Yeah, it could be. I've had the invite.
President,
She's invited
I would
you
do it,
to
yeah,
come this
I
year.
would do it.
Talking about the European Union and the tariffs, like, what do you mean when you say that European Union country like Spain is part of BRICS?
That are what?
BRICS.
Oh, BRICS. No, I was talking about BRICS. BRICS are 6 nations. I think it's 7 nations. And they were looking to do a number in the United States. And
They
if
added,
do
they
that,
added Spain.
they won't be happy about what's going to happen to them.
Are you still considering a universal tariff, Mr. President, on all countries?
I may, yeah, but we're not ready for that yet. We may put it, wrap it, because essentially all countries take advantage of the U.S. We don't make any good deals in the U.S. It's amazing in a way that we exist. We don't make good deals. We don't have any good deals. We have a deficit with almost, not all, there are a couple, I won't tell you their names because I don't want them to find out about it because they'll feel stupid. But there are a couple of countries that actually don't make money with us. But I don't want to let you know because they'll immediately change that. But we're gonna do. I tell you what, our country has a future. I really believe that.
What kind of universal tariff if you did do one?
Well, you'd put a universal tariff on anybody doing business in the United States because they're coming in and they're stealing our wealth, they're stealing our jobs, they're stealing our companies, they're hurting our companies. So you put a tariff on to keep them from doing that.
Mr. President, you surround yourself with a whole bunch of billionaires today. President Biden has in his farewell address warned about an oligarchy. I was wondering if you could respond to that.
Well, he had a lot of guys, and then they found out that he didn't know what the hell he was talking about, and I think they deserted him. They deserted him, those same guys. Look, I don't make pretense of smart guys, but there are a lot of smart people around, but they did desert him. They were all with him, every one of them. Now they're all with me. I don't know. It's not going to get anything from me. I don't need money. But I do want the nation to do well, and they're smart people, and they have, they create a lot of jobs. And if they don't do it, China's going to do it. You know, what they've done is they've taken industries and they've taken it away. They outsmarted China.
Elon replied to the ADL. What did he say? He said, I did Sig Heil. What are you going to do about it?
Not all of them.
Protecting women from radical gender ideologies.
Ooh.
Mr. President,
Going back to the World Health
course.
Organization, you were the president during COVID. Don't you see the importance of organization like that to coordinate a global response?
Sure, I do, but not when you're being ripped off like we are by the World Health. World Health ripped us off. Everybody rips off the United States, and that's it. It's not going to happen anymore. Thank you very much, everybody.
All right, guys, let's go.
One last one, sir. This is your Martin Luther
Thank you,
King
guys.
Day proclamation.
Thank you, Press. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Press.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Hey, let's go. Thanks, Press. Thank you, guys.
This is Martin.
Let's go, guys.
What are we doing on this stuff?
Well, we've just been watching the new.
By the way, Jake Tapper, already full glaze mode, did the thing that I told you that they would start doing immediately, that they did last time Donald Trump became president, and said something so insane. Hold on. Where is it? 1 second. I got to show you. Apparently, Jake Tapper was like, well, there was a lot of messaging discipline coming from Donald Trump and J.D. Vance during the campaign. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. Jesus Christ, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? He's just Aaron Rupar is just on a posting frenzy over the. Oh, here. This is here it is.
Before I bring in Daniel Dale to do some fact-checking on some of the things he said that were not true about January 6, 2021, I think it's important to point out that the Trump-Vance campaign in 2024 was a very disciplined campaign.
Very, very disciplined. Like, the messaging discipline that they exhibited when they said Haitians are eating cats and dogs over and over again, which we here at CNN understandably fact-checked. I was overcome by the discipline that they demonstrated when they kept repeating that lie, that insane racist lie.
And did a decent job of depicting President Trump as somebody who obviously had strong feelings on the border.
Yeah, no, definitely. And not like a psychopathic racist madman. Yeah, they really were, they stuck to the message, you know, and they communicated their strong feelings. Dude, this is something that Fox News wouldn't even say. Like, what are we talking? At least Fox News would overtly glaze them. You know what I mean? They'd be like, yeah, actually, how can you glaze them even harder? This is, never mind. This is something exactly to a T that Fox News would say. Yeah, when Donald Trump talked about how Arnold Palmer was hanging dong, or when he deep-throated the microphone at one of his rallies, or when his opener at the Madison Square Garden, you sound libbed up. I'm sorry. There was no messaging discipline. If anything, the media is actively normalizing and doing historical revisionism over a campaign that we saw and experienced not that long ago. This is not me being libbed up. This is me doing objective media analysis. What a crazy thing for Jake Tapper to say.
Somebody who had strong feelings on inflation and a disruptor, but somebody who was within the realm of normalcy, which is not obviously what we just heard from the new president there in Emancipation Hall.
Like, there is a difference. There's a difference between, like, I'm not, my job is not to lie to you. Okay. My job is to tell you the truth. And time again, I have communicated to you when Donald Trump, even in the interim period, does something that the Democrats haven't done. My job is to also offer additional context and analysis. Like, for example, Gaza being the key issue that we've talked about extensively over the past 15 months, the genocide that Israel has conducted. Okay. Joe Biden refused to deal with Israel, refused to pressure Israel at all, refused to let Israel budge on the ceasefire negotiations, and actively lied at the behest of Israel. Donald Trump came in and in a matter of 2 weeks pressured Israel to commit to a ceasefire. Now, I said at the time that there's probably additional assurances that Donald Trump gave to Benjamin Netanyahu. That much is becoming clear, even right now. The fact that Donald Trump also is talking about how he's going to turn Gaza into beachfront property is further assurances that he is not interested in, obviously, understandably, the emancipation of Palestinian people, make no mistake, and instead is giving Israel the opportunity to re-up and rearm in the process as they ship more weapons, specifically 2,000-pound bombs. Okay? If I were libbed up, I would be like, see, Donald Trump is significantly worse than Joe Biden on the issue of Palestine. That's what I would say. That would be a libbed up analysis. Clear-headed analysis on the matter is different than that. You have to understand there's a difference. How do you see this potential West Bank annexation deal playing out for Netanyahu and his base and coalition are so opposed to ending the war? Personally, I'm skeptical the deal will survive phase 1. But what's the calculation for Bibi if it does? Would he regain support by annexation/KSA peace? How do you see a part of it? I think that Benjamin Netanyahu, and you'll probably agree with me on this, his number one thing in Israel, aside from being the security guy, is that he has 3 decades of experience with America. Everyone in Israel understands that America has to be, America is the most valuable ally, and that if you have a politician that is, quote unquote, the whisperer of the American state, that's pretty valuable. So I think Benjamin Netanyahu's close relationship with Donald Trump will be highlighted by the likes of, Channel 14 and all these other pro Benjamin Netanyahu outlets. Okay. And that will consistently gain him more support, enough support that he does not have to have a delicate allegiance with all these other people, and most likely will cause him to regain control of the Israeli government. But I don't know. I don't know if this will happen. But what I suspect is he will keep beefing up, and Donald Trump will also give him the additional American propaganda from the American state that is necessary for his survival, his political survival, so that he can do whatever he wants and suffer some political penalties for it, but not so much that it completely disbands his governing coalition and potentially kicks him out of power. That is how I think he will be able to stay in power and continue, and maybe even limit the offensive actions in Gaza and create a period of fake peace so that he can re-up and rearm and annex the West Bank, in its entirety later down the line. I agree partly, but at the end of the day, I'm not sure how he remains at power electorally with the war gone. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Especially considering that, and you know this better because you are in Israel, but it does feel like, at least from over here, that even a brief cessation of hostilities is being seen as a major issue in Israel. In spite of the fact that you are seeing hostages get released, and there's a brief moment of celebration for that, it seems like the broad majority of Israeli society, specifically majorities in the Jewish population, want the war to continue, want the genocide to continue, want the death and destruction to continue. So we'll see. New York Times making superbly spineless choice in the face of overt fascism. Elon Musk ignites online speculation over the meaning of a hand gesture. Yeah, I read the article. They actually put me in the article, so I can't criticize them too much. New York Times is officially a friend of the show now. Absolutely. Ben-Gvir left already, and Smotrich would leave after phase 1, so it's interesting to see if he'd permanently join with Gantz. Yeah. It is pretty wild to think that Israeli society broadly is supercharged and primed to continue the death and destruction campaign. That is, Benjamin Netanyahu's popularity has only increased as he has escalated the violence. It increased when he moved the violence over to Lebanon. Like, they considered that to be a good thing, a positive thing. So if he were to dial that back in any capacity, he would suffer political penalties for it. And I don't think Donald Trump is bold enough to just hang Netanyahu out to dry like that. I don't think he would ever do that, even though I don't think he likes Benjamin Netanyahu. So either he has cut a side deal with Miriam Adelson and will cut a side deal with Miriam Adelson, and they have different intentions for who governs Israel after the fact. Because I've read reporting, again, this is like palace intrigue shit, but I've read reporting on Miriam Adelson also not being too fond of the Netanyahus. And I know for a fact that Donald Trump is not exactly fond of Benjamin Netanyahu either. So unless they have, like a separate setup and they'll allow Benjamin Netanyahu to fall, what do you think happens to Palestine? Do you think the ceasefire is legit? I mean, the ceasefire is illegitimate to begin with, but how illegitimate it is entirely dependent on what the Israeli government does going forward. So it's illegitimate either in the next 42 days or it's illegitimate after 42 days when phase 1 is supposed to move into phase 2. In the process, there will still be like 90 plus Israeli occupying force prisoners of war that Hamas maintains. And therefore, there will still be a lot of public pressure to continue trying to get those hostages back. And that is supposed to be the bargaining chip to ensure that the ceasefire goes from phase 1 to phase 2. But Benjamin Netanyahu keeps yelling at the public, saying over and over again that he's not going to abide by that standard. He's not going to go into phase 2. He's given assurances to Smotrich in order to maintain his coalition that by phase 2 in the next 42 days, they're going to continue the bombing campaign.